Okay, so the first thing we need to do for this course is to set up our development environment. And I am assuming here that you don't have anything to start with. So we'll go to the setup guide file and follow the steps shown here. In this example, I'm going to go to install Python for Mac. And instead of installing 3.12, we will go to Downloads, Full Downloads for the Mac OS. And here we will specifically download 3.10.11. That's done, and now we will install it. Lovely. Okay, so for the next step, we're going to go install Visual Studio Code. So we click on this link and download the setup. Okay, here it is. Let's open the applications folder and drag it there. And that's how you install it on a Mac system. Now if you go to the Launchpad, you will notice it there. Next step, installing Git. Now for Windows, you would install it using the link that's over here. As for Mac, you can just simply open up the terminal and type git space version and run it. If Git's not installed, you will get the appropriate prompts to set it up. Okay, now back to Visual Studio Code. Let's start it up. Okay, here the first thing I will do is go to extensions and make sure that I have Jupyter as well as Python extensions. So now that we're done with that, we'll move on to setting up the Python environment, which is where we will be running all of these notebooks and Python scripts. So the first thing we're going to do is go back to our GitHub repo. We will click on this blue code button, HTTPS, copy the link, go back to Visual Studio Code, and here we'll click on View, Command Palette, Git clone, and paste the link. Now here I advise you to use a special Git folder and drop all of your Git folders inside that. Okay, so the next thing we can do here is either open the Git folder as is, or we could be organized by saving the workspace and then individually adding the Git folder inside that workspace. Now that we have cloned the Git repo into our workspace, we will need to set up the environment in which these Python notebooks will operate. So the first thing we'll do is open one of these notebooks, let's say Basics. And here you'll notice that it says detecting kernel or choosing kernel on the top right corner of the screen. So we'll click on kernel, click on Python environment, and here you will get a list of all the existing Python environments. But what we want to do in this case is click on create Python environments and use venv. As I said, we need to use version 3.10. And then we choose the requirements file. This is important. The requirements file is used to indicate what modules are required for the Python script to run, and by using commands like pip install -r requirements, you will end up installing all of the requirements as part of that list. In this case, what's going to happen is when you click on the requirements.txt file, a new environment is going to be created with all of the required modules. Let's click on show logs to see what's happening. Great. Now this leads to the creation of a folder inside your local folder called venv. And this folder will contain a small Python environment. But more importantly, it creates a Python environment with the modules required for your course in a way that doesn't conflict with any other kind of environment. Now I've added this to git ignore, which means that all the files inside this folder will be ignored. Git won't think that you need to push them to the repository. Okay, that's finished. If we go back to our basics file, kernel discovery, Python environments, we should be able to choose the venv environment. Aha, that's interesting. Okay, let's exit Visual Studio Code and open it again. Aha, here we are. venv recommended. This is what you should be seeing. Okay, now that we have our environment sorted, we need to get the credentials from OpenAI so we can start using it. What we will do here is grab the API key from the website and use it in our notebooks, but also save it in the credentials file. So the first thing we need to do is go to platform.openai.com. Now, if you don't have an account here, you'll need to register and get one. And when you do, OpenAI will give you at least $10 free credit to use, which is more than enough for this course. Once logged in, you can go to API keys and create a new key. We'll take this key, go to our folder here, create a new file and name it .env, just .env. And here we will write the OpenAI key and paste our code. But we will also use this OpenAI key in our notebook here. Okay, now that we have everything ready, we can run this snippet. Okay, that looks good. Let's test it. Nice. We're good to go.